For our next discussion, we're going to be talking about the constraints or enabler for financial institutions, a fantastic discussion around digital identity. And to do that, we are going to have Christophe Medinger, who is the Vice President and Head of Architecture at Spuerkeess. We're going to have Sylvain Arts, CBO at INCERT, Lionel Antunes from Ministry for Digitalisation at CTIE, and Claire Alexandre, International Government Relations at PayPal, in a conversation moderated by Petra Krizan, Managing Director at the Blockhouse Technology Limited. Please give them a huge round of applause to welcome them onto our stage here at Nexus. Oh, I think we can give them a huge round of applause. There we are. Excellent. Come on up. Please.
Dear audience, many thanks for joining us today to discuss digital identities. And I'd like to start this panel with a little quote from the World Bank report on digital public infrastructure. With a few taps on her mobile phone, a textile worker in a remote area of northern India can apply for social benefits to be paid directly into her bank account, sign up for skills training, and electronically sign an application for a loan. In Thailand, farmers can receive fertilizer subsidies into a bank account linked to their national ID. Singaporean citizens and residents can do almost any transaction end-to-end online, no matter where they are, from registering a bird to filing taxes and opening a new business. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Petra Krizan, and I'm the Managing Director of the Blockhouse Technology Limited. We specialize in building a secure infrastructure for vital societal technological parts like e-banking, government, financial industry. And with these efforts, we're also part of European infrastructure for building digital identity wallet. Today, I'm pleased to introduce, in the order of appearance, my esteemed panelist, Claire Alexandre. She leads PayPal's international government relations team across Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and much of Asia Pacific, promoting financial access and innovation. Previously, she played a key role in developing Vodafone's M-Pesa service and led financial inclusion efforts at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Her career focuses on advancing financial services through policy, regulation, and strategic partnership. The next one, we have Lionel Antunes, the head of department at Luxembourg's Government IT Center, CTIE, where he leads national projects on digital identity, including the eIDAS node, electronic ID card, and the EU potential pilot. Since 2014, he has represented Luxembourg in EU working group, focused on the legal and technical dimensions of digital identity and trust services. The next one, we have Christophe Medinger, who serves as a vice president and head of architecture at Spuerkeess. With Spuerkeess, he supported European potential project as one of the pilot banks, which in collaboration with the CTIE and the Ministry for Digitalisation is implementing the Luxembourgish version of the EU Digital Identity Wallet. This initiative aims to enable secure digital onboarding, identification and authentication within the bank's online platform, SNET. And last but not least, Sylvain Arts. He is the Chief Business Officer at INCERT, where he drives secure digital solutions for identities and products while anticipating future cybersecurity challenges. With over 20 years of experience in tech and 15 plus years in management, he has supported public and private sector strategies and contributed to the security of major international events like G7 and G20. Today, he leads trusted platforms and business lines that serve clients in 19 countries, focusing on collaboration, practical innovation, and meaningful digital solutions. So you've just heard the examples from India, Thailand, and Singapore. So why don't we have this level of seamless digital identity in the EU yet? And when we might get there? Let's dive in. So my first question goes to Mr. Antunes. Europe has taken steps with eIDAS 2 reform. All citizens and residents should expect digital wallets by the end of 2026, as stated in the regulation. Can you please explain to us what is EUDI and when we can expect digital wallets and digital IDs in Luxembourg? How soon we can expect true cross-border mutual recognition of digital IDs?
Yes, thank you. So, first of all, I would say that getting 30 member states, 30 countries and the European Union to agree on a single common set of legal rules and technical system is more complicated than setting up at national level. So that explains a bit why it's a bit more complicated to get it done. And in this regard, I would say that EIDAS-1 has done not such a bad job, because at least for the public service, we already have a cross-border recognition of digital identities, and on national public services, we see online authentication from citizens with solutions coming from 22 other countries. So it's working, but it's correct that EIDAS-1 failed for the private sector. And that's what the EIDAS-2 is trying to fix with the wallet. So what is the wallet? It's a technical solution, which could be a mobile app or something else. There is no precise form that is enforced by the regulation, which will offer a lot of functionalities. The main three functionalities are online authentication at the highest level of security recognized in the European Union. Second, you have the ability to request, store, and share in a privacy-preserving manner credentials, both offline and online, and both with relying parties and other wallets. So there is wallet-to-wallet communication also. And the nice thing with the EIDAS is that when these credentials are issued in a specific way, they automatically get the same legal value as the paper version of the document. And the final functionality is the ability for users to create qualified electronic signature, so to sign with a legal value for free. So the deadline, as you mentioned, to provide these wallets to citizens and companies is 24 December 2026. And then the deadline for private sector, which is in scope of the EIDAS regulation to support it, is 1 year later, 24 December 2027.
Thank you. So my next question goes to Christophe Medinger. Banks in Asia have leaned heavily into mobile-first government-backed ID schemes. Neobanks in the EU let you on board in less than 15 minutes. By the EIDAS-2, banks should accept electronic identifications as means to identify their customers. The same is stated in AML regulation from 2024. From a financial institution perspective, how far we are from integration of digital IDs into everyday banking services? What effect will it have on KYC and customer due diligence processes?
Yes, thank you for the question. So for banks, essentially digital ID is the missing piece to digitalize all of our banking processes. So as of today, a lot of banks already have online banking. You can do a lot of online, and but we still rely on private authentication, private parties to identify or to authenticate our customers. And this has as a consequence that we need to give an identification or an authentication tool to every customer who comes to our bank. With the digital ID, we finally have in Europe one solution so that everybody from every European country can come to our bank and onboard digitally our bank, and we are sure that the one who is onboarding is the person who he claims to be. This has the advantage he can fully onboard online, and we just have to validate his onboarding afterwards without having him to come to a branch or authenticate him via any other means. So for banking processes, as a bank's point of view, a digital ID is a huge gain in efficiency, more customer attraction, less friction to onboard a new bank, and of course this makes our KYC and back office process also easier. As of today, we still rely on people verifying ID cards, people verifying that a copy of an ID card, the name that's on the copy, it's the same that's in the system. digital the European wallets or with digital ID, this is history from the past. So we don't have to control anything anymore on digital ID. We just have to control that the digital ID is authentic digitally, and we don't have to control it manually. So for banks, it's perfect. For customers, of course, they have to come less to the branch. They can the processes for onboarding or for signing contracts. It's much frictionless, and so everybody's winning.
Thank you. And my next question goes to Sylvain. Trust frameworks and certification bodies are the foundation of digital ID ecosystems. Where do we stand in the EU on the interoperability and security standards?
Thank you for the question. In terms of interoperability, we are closing to the end of the process with the large-scale pilots that was set 2 years ago. A recent event organized by one of the consortium joined 14 different member states, more than 1,300 tests of interoperabilities, and more than 1,000 transactions, which are big numbers and very important for the future of the implementation. So, it's not only interoperability between countries, but also in relation with the different ecosystems. So in the different test beds we have right now, for the banking system, you have some card issuers institution, but you have also banks, you have merchants, and from end-to-end process of making a real-life situation. This kind of tests in terms of interoperability are used a lot for the use cases where you need to buy something and prove your identity, so it fully aligned with the banking needs. It's closing to the end because normally the consortium will end during this summer. In terms of security framework, that's always an ongoing discussion, and we have right here one specialist. But it's also the baseline were created. We are closing to the end, even if there are very big and important topics to achieve. But all is done yet for allowing states to prepare their own wallet for next year, and banks to be ready in 27. So all the ecosystem from the technology provider, the partners, the member states, and also the financial institution are working in hands to achieve it closely on making the wallet a reality soon.
Thank you. And my question to Claire. PayPal serves customers worldwide. What lessons have you drawn from markets with major digital ID schemes? And how do you balance privacy, anti-fraud, and seamless customer experience?
Thank you, Petra. And very good question. This is really important for us at PayPal because we are a digital native service provider. So everything we do is remote. You don't have customers coming face to face. So we have to find solution to basically digitalize all of the interactions and identities at the core of all the services that we provide. So there's two ways for us to look at it, reflecting the diversity, as you say, of situation where we sometimes serve customers in countries which have very mature digital identity schemes and others where there's less so. So the first thing we need to take into account is how do we digitalize identities which have other form factors, so usually paper or plastic, because even if we're not going to see those customers face to face, we need to find ways, and I'm sure that at Spuerkeess you also have that issue, of course. But that's an important element to start with, and it's of course also an important element from a financial inclusion perspective, because I'm sure that all of us are all online, and we are developing, I'll go back to that, a digital identity as well. As the more we're online, the more we develop it, but there's still many people who will not spend much time online, and therefore their identity it will be very, very different. So we need to make sure that from a financial inclusion point of view, we can digitalize those other form factors. The other thing, of course, is for onboarding, in the same way as Christophe was mentioning it. Onboarding is the key thing for any financial service provider, not only from a compliance and KYC point of view, but also to bring in lots of innovation functionality or innovative services. If you don't bring services in a convenient, easy to use, intuitive fashion for new users, no matter how, unless they may be extremely tech savvy, but you need to make it easy for them. So we think that from an onboarding perspective, ease of usage, ease of adoption, and KYC compliance, it's really important. Now, when, of course, we think about digital identity, for all of us on the panel, the main thing we have in mind is probably more the digital identity which we develop as we spend more time online. And in a way, I'm online, so I exist. I think that's probably the new mantra that we should all keep in mind. And we definitely see a great value in using more and more data-driven means to identify a user. It's not always easily and readily accepted in regulation and legislation. It's a debate which some of you may be familiar with and which have occupied quite some long debate during the PSD2 adoption around strong customer authentication. But we really think that enabling more recognition of data-driven means to identify users is extremely helpful, in particular around the issue of fraud. And online fraud is really a major concern. So we are trying, for example, to adopt more and more solutions such as passkeys, so that you have to rely less on passwords, for example. But for that, you do need to have a framework which allows and recognize those data-driven sort of identities much more than it is the case today. So for us, this is really important because, especially, for example, if you think about the phishing attacks, which take place more and more, if you rely more on digital identity, you'll you'll address phishing by relying less on the human being, which is often the weak link in this chain, and therefore that changes things sort of drastically. Now, of course, to answer your last question about how do you bridge the gap between privacy, which is essential for users, sort of indeed fraud that I've mentioned, and seamless, experience for the customer. I would say there that designing those elements from scratch is important. If you're going to do some fixing after you've launched the service, I think this is a recipe for disaster. So we'll try to have privacy by design, the customer experience being very, very smooth by design. Sort of that's the first thing. And then the other thing to bear in mind, which I think is really sort of showing how you can bridge these two elements, is to think that the more you rely and you can use digital identity, the more you can actually help provide identity elements which are fit for the context of the transaction. So you don't need to provide your full identity if you want to prove that you're over 16 and access a certain piece of content, for example. You might just be able to provide one piece of identity which will allow you to access but not the rest. So these are elements like this which I think will be able to bridge those different constraints and potentials.
You had a great point with user centricity and usability. So my next question will go to all of the panelists, because digital identity systems will only succeed if people actually use them. What are the biggest enablers of large-scale adoption in Europe, and how can public and private relying parties design services that users actually want to use? Who wants to start?
Well, I can start if you want. I think actually the most important factors are the same for both users and for service providers. And I think first we must see both the value in the solution. So for users, they should be able to do with their solution something faster than what they are doing now, or something more than what they are doing now. And on the rallying party side, Christophe mentioned it, there is a question also of speed and of cost reduction. That is also a good incentive. Second criteria for me is, and Claire mentioned it, is convenience. The solution has to be convenient. It has to integrate in the environment of a user, whether it's a mobile or desktop or tablet, whatever the vendor, it has to work directly, and it has to be very easy to use, intuitive, accessible. And on the other side, it also has to be easy to integrate into the IT architecture of the service providers. And the final factor for me, maybe the most difficult one to get, is trust. Because if the actors don't have trust in the solution, we will not get adoption despite their quality of the solution itself. And to get trust, well, we have already a very strong legal framework in the European Union which protects all actors with data protection, GDPR, we have NIS2 for cybersecurity. For the wallet, digital identity, a new supervisory body and new rules will be added in each member state, so there will be a new dedicated body to watch that everything is working fine. But as was also mentioned, I think we need to go further and directly build privacy and security in the solution. And it means not only to have a transparent development approach with public specification, contribution from anyone, an open source solution. And I think all this has been taken into account very seriously with the Commission, by the European Commission for the wallet. If you look at the final EIDAS2 regulation, all of this is really present there. Thank you.
I think, I'm sure that Sylvain would like to add something to this, right?
I'm fully agree with what Lionel said. But I think it's also the job of all the ecosystem players to think as users and how we can, all of us, take benefits of this kind of innovation and digital identity. And if we look now, some feedbacks from the test organized by the consortium and the European Commission, more than 80% of the people coming from the private sector who tested give more trust on this process than manual filling of data or traditional onboarding system. So there is really something to build on the top of the regulation and the compliance and things like that. And at one moment, we have all of us to focus on the benefits, saving time, more accuracy on the data, and just helping the people to use financial tools and having something more fun when dealing with the financial world.
I'm sure that Christophe has something to say to what you just said.
Yeah, I agree with my previous speakers. As Spuerkeess, we have, or as financial institutions in general, we have one additional advantage. We need to implement this by mid of 27. That's the regulation, and that's going to be an incentive for the financial industry to spread this new digital ID among the people. And we have leverage. People rely, every customer has or every citizen has a banking app. That's for sure. You can't do payments anymore without having a banking app if you don't want to do traditional payments. So we have the leverage of accessing the customers, being able to tell the customer, here, use this new digital ID. We will provide you with a better user experience. You will be more secure. You only share the data you want to share, and you are in full control of who gets access to which data, but with your digital ID. So as a financial industry, we are one of the key players for this new digital ID, and one of the key industries that are going to profit from it regarding efficiency and more efficient processes in our back offices.
And Claire, your thoughts on the topic?
Let me maybe wrap it up by mentioning that indeed what's key beyond the customer experience and what it brings to service providers like us is indeed, as you reminded us, Lionel, is solving a problem. If we don't have practical use case, which means that customers can really find their lives made easy, I think it won't work. And I think that we should definitely go away from the idea that, you know, build it and they will come, technology is great and users will adapt. I think it's is really the other way around. So what works for innovation in general certainly sort of can be applied here. And the other element, which I think will be really important from an ecosystem point of view, and we've touched upon it already a little bit, is this element of interoperability. I think all the work which is spearheaded by the European Commission, I think at the moment is definitely going in the right direction, and we welcome this. I think we want to ensure that whether these are solutions which are indeed government-backed or private tools supported by the private sector, that they can provide a wide range of choices to our users, but that requires that interoperability exists, otherwise sort of it won't work. And that I think also means that a keen focus needs to be paid to the level playing field, in particular in areas where you may have players who also control device, not just the services, to ensure that actually there is really an easy access and there's no locking of customers because of control across the value chain which others may not have. So I think both from a user perspective but from an ecosystem perspective, this is what comes to my mind if we want usage to actually spread so that this becomes a reality for all.
Thank you. And in one sentence, do you believe that EU digital identity will be a constraint or an enabler?
Well, I'm happy to start, and we can take it maybe this way. So an enabler, definitely, and for three reasons. It provides access to the digital world. It's dynamic and not static, which is what you need for digital. And it can provide sort of control to users. So absolutely an enabler.
I think it might feel like a constraint at the beginning because of the legal obligations of the regulation, but in the long run it will be definitely an enabler because I think we can achieve the three factors that I mentioned, so convenience, bringing added value, and maintaining security.
Yeah, for me, definitely an enabler. It's like I said earlier, it's the missing piece in our digital world where we can verify digitally who is who, and this can, at least from finance industry, is optimal for risk management, security and compliance reasons, so definitely an enabler.
Absolute enabler. I think that digital identity will be like one pillar when we can reinvent plenty of services, plenty of cooperation between players, and just opening a full field of opportunities. And also we are in a country where we try to build a digital nation. So digital nation without digital identity cannot be digital. So full enabler.
Well, dear panelists, thank you so much for your contribution to this exciting discussion. I hope our audience enjoyed our insights, and I hope they will delve into what digital identity brings to them. And dear audience, if you'd like to build something upon EU digital identity infrastructure, whether that's verification of digital documents or offering wallets to your customers, please check out fortid.com. The website. I'm proud to say that we're building great things, and thank you for listening to us.
Thank you, Petra. Thank you.
Thank you.